All right. Well, welcome everybody to my home. This is, I think, our sixth frequency chat. We do them twice a month on Tuesdays. Since it's a little bit more personal journey for me, I thought I'd do it from my home, something be a little bit different. So first off, I want to address something that I've heard come up quite a few times lately, and I'm going to call it the elephant in the room. Because people look at this technology, and even people that are in tune with frequency medicine and people that are trying to share it with other people, they run into the problem of people going, well, that's a vibe plate. It is not a vibe plate. It is the opposite of a vibe plate. So it's not your mama shaker machine, like you see here. And it's not a traditional mechanical plate, which does nothing but shake the body. So that can do some lymphatic movement, some circulatory movement in the lower part of the body. Maximum influence is within 2 feet of the plate. It's not going to do anything to help your body heal on a cellular level at all. And it doesn't have any of the frequency medicine in it. So basically, our machine is an incredible frequency healing device disguised as a vibe plate. So again, I consider it the ultimate biohack. So sound frequency medicine is super, super powerful in the body because we're an energy field and we're 70% water, and we're profoundly affected by sound because sound travels 5 times faster through water. So we've covered this before, so I'm not going to spend much time on it, but this machine that I designed is essentially the bridge between traditional naturopathic and Eastern medicine. The reason it works so well, I want to keep touching on this till people really understand it, is you are at your most basic building block. You are an atom. You are nothing but frequency and vibration. And sound frequency medicine is the ultimate tool to affect exactly what you are. And you're not just this body you look at. You are this entire frequency field that goes out and around you, down through all your energy centers. And that is really what you want to affect. It changes everything, and it is really the fast track to healing. So I want to talk about long haul COVID because there is a lot of this going around. So primary symptoms most people are familiar with are fatigue, cognitive problems, shortness of breath. So the breathing issues sometimes can be a result of scar tissue in the lungs that's formed with the effect of COVID kind of setting up camp there. Now I want to back up a second and look at this through the view of your immune system. So your immune system is created to protect you from everything. And when it comes up against a disease, whether it's cancer or COVID or any kind of thing, it actually will eventually get that disease to either go in remission, which in case of cancer, it means that the cancer viruses actually sink their little phalanges into a bacteria and they become dormant. So that doesn't mean they can't become active again. I believe my gut instinct is that COVID is kind of working the same way. So people get better, but they have COVID set up somewhere in their body that tends to go active here and there. And I think it's causing some real long-term damage. I know I did a little research that the Mayo Clinic and Johns Hopkins is following up on. Even at OHSU, there is a long haul COVID center where they're finding out more and more information of what the long-term effects of COVID are on the body. So heart problems, this is something that I know someone that actually owns a machine deals with, is pericarditis and inflammation around the heart. So they say, Johns Hopkins is saying that up to 60% of people that have had COVID have ongoing inflammation around the heart. So really important to run the coronavirus frequencies, which again is the original cold. They're very old frequencies, but they work really well. And then tap into the other frequencies that work really well with it, like inflammation. A lot of people have ongoing inflammation in their body. And yes, diet does contribute, but coronavirus is causing this whole list of inflammatory processes. So the fatigue, I think, is due to the mitochondrial damage. They have shown that COVID actually damages the mitochondria, and the mitochondria actually produces all the ATP in your body, adenosine triphosphate, and it's what every cell uses for energy. It's what your muscles use for energy. And having that mitochondrial damage is something you need to repair with like DNA frequencies. DNA repair frequencies like 528, rejuvenation, those kind of things. So really important for the fatigue factor. They are finding that there's kidney damage that is long-term that can increase your risk of long-term kidney disease. So there are kidney support frequencies. Kidney insufficiency is the name of it. It is actually in the PRO program. I highly suggest people use that and give their kidneys a repair boost. I think all of your organs following COVID actually need some support. So loss of taste, that's one most people are familiar with. For some people, it lasts up to a year. And once again, that whole repair of the DNA is really important, which you can do with frequencies. Other symptoms, neurological problems. So dizziness, headaches, fatigue, brain fog, cognitive functions of all kinds, and thinking and reasoning and remembering. And a lot of people look at these symptoms and they attribute it to something else, or try to find something else, or try to treat that independently. And I think a lot of what's going on that we're seeing in people is a combination of all of these factors that have to do with COVID at the root. There's also some evidence out there that COVID is somewhat gender dominant, that more of these long-term COVID problems are happening in females than males. So POTS is another one, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. So that's people that have the frequent headaches, the fatigue, brain fog, difficulties in thinking. So that's been a term that's been thrown out a lot at the long-term COVID clinics. Type 2 diabetes, they're finding that is popping up in people that have never had it before, having coronavirus. So children, MSC, MISC, the multi-system inflammatory system. So they're finding that with children, there are some long-term effects. Athletes are finding it in the heart, but children, not all of them, but some of them are having an inflammatory process in all their major organs. So really important to get that under control. So I highly recommend using those coronavirus SARS frequencies, like inflammation frequencies, the immune system stimulation frequencies, and DNA repair, and get the body to start repairing itself and focus on any of the organs that might be damaged. I think that's pretty important. So spike proteins is another thing I want to talk about. Spike proteins are produced with coronavirus and also with the vaccination. And the spike proteins that you're going to find with the vaccination are actually elongated, they're bigger. And what they're finding is that they're actually reactivating latent disease. So people that have had diseases in their childhood, I had rheumatic fever when I was young. I had chronic strep until they took out my tonsils, and that helped a lot. It will reactivate some of those old things, and you have to go back and you can do cleanup, because we have all the frequencies, especially in PRO, to do cleanup on all these different issues that you had before. And once again, it's back to that same picture of these little immune system shoulders getting something like backed off and in a corner, but it's not gone out of your system. So these spike proteins reactivate it, and then you have to deal with that problem again. But really easy to use frequency medicine, go back and clean up everything. And if you're dealing with patients, I would absolutely positively get a patient history on any of the major things in their life that have happened. Another thing that happens is blood clots. And this happens from the vaccine. It also happens from having coronavirus. And these blood clots can last for a long time and can cause major havoc even down the road. So what I consider this machine to be, the VibraGenix technology, it's literally your frequency medicine cabinet. Beyond all the big things like coronavirus and cancers and things that I've experienced personally, you can use it for everything. Instead of inundating your liver, which we talked about last time, with all kinds of over-the-counter drugs, all kinds of even natural medicine or pharmaceuticals, you can actually use this for anything. If you have stomach cramps or menstrual cramps, you can take the cell exciters, put right in your stomach, run those frequencies with abdominal inflammation, and they go away like that for headaches, for migraines, for all kinds of things that we're normally taking other supplements. And especially, I'm going to warn you a little bit about taking other supplements, especially with the possible damage from coronavirus in the kidneys, is you don't want to hit your kidneys with too many things like ibuprofen and things like that. The NSAIDs are really hard on the kidneys. So using this frequency medicine cabinet for all those little things that come up, really important for the overall health of your body. So I think it's even good for emergency medicine. And this is actually a very new concept for me, because I've always thought traditional medicine is exactly where you should be if you have an emergency. But 11 days ago, when I was at work, I had a TIA, and it scared me badly. I lost my ability to speak, and my business, actually my whole staff was there, and my business partner. And, you know, the first thing and the only thing I could think about doing, it scared me, to not be able to do anything more than syllables. And I don't have any of the risk factors for stroke, except for coronavirus. The Mayo Clinic has now added that to the list of risk factors for coronavirus. But my blood pressure is great, my cholesterol is great, I'm not obese, you know, I don't have any of the other risk factors. But the first thing I did is go straight to the VibraGenix machine, and I pulled up the frequencies for stroke, the recovery frequencies. And I ran those for 20 minutes. And I know my software better than anybody. I know it inside out, backwards, and upside down. And I still couldn't cognitively form my thoughts to think of what else I needed to add. So I just kept looking. 20 minutes I stood there with the stroke recovery frequencies on. Stroke follow-up is what it's called. And then I went back in my office, and my business partner came in. He prayed with me, and I could speak words then, but stuttering. And he did a little neurological test. He said, I think we should go to the doctor, take you to the hospital. And I went back out to the machine. And by then I was thinking more. So I turned on the oxygen concentrator. And that is one of the most powerful tools that you can actually use with the machine. When you're on the VibraGenix, you're stimulating 100 trillion cells in your body all at the same time. So it is the perfect time to put in concentrated oxygen. And I breathed in the oxygen, ran the same stroke recovery frequencies. I ran 6 chakra, because if your 6 chakra is blocked, that's when you get strokes and neurological issues. And I ran DNA repair and rejuvenation out at TBSW, and stood on there for that second 20 minutes. But I was better, but at least what my staff saw in me, and sorry, my words aren't completely flowing yet, but I'm 90% better than I was 11 days ago. But what they witnessed was everything was smaller, like my eyes, my mouth, my hands, everything. And I couldn't form my thoughts. And I was trying to, you know, pull up a list that I'd made the day before of things to do, and looked at the date, and I thought, that's not right. It's not September. Maybe it's October. Maybe it's November. And I knew something was really wrong with me. Went ahead and came home, canceled my weekend trip, came home. I have chunks of my memory that were gone from that day that apparently I hot tubbed, and I don't remember it, but slept with oxygen. I kept doing those frequencies, that same course that I just told you about. And I've done it every day since, and every day's gotten better and better. Had a pretty bad headache for about 5 days. But my right-sided weakness got better within about 48 hours. And I now believe I have more of a faith in this technology than I've ever had before, because I've never thought about this application, that you could use it in an emergency medicine kind of situation. So it was a very big aha moment to me. And I think I fell in love with the gift of the technology even more, because there's nothing more frightening to me than losing your ability to think and speak. I mean, my whole company, I don't know what would happen. So, much less quality of life. So I want to impress upon everybody that your health is your most valuable thing. And I think that was a big lesson for me, is you kind of take it for granted when you have good days and when you're, you know, physically optimized or whatever else. But surprising things can happen. And this was a broadside for me, because I would be the last person I would ever expect to have anything like this go wrong in my brain. So I've yet, and that's the other thing that was really amazing to me, is I did go see an internal medicine specialist on Monday following. And, you know, he ordered all kinds of studies from me, which I still have yet to get, because they're booked so far out, and insurance has to approve some of them. And so we still have yet to do one test. And I thought, this is ridiculous, you know, with emergency medicine, which I've always really believed in, like you could die before you could get any kind of, further treatment, diagnosis, anything like that. So anyway, he concurred with me that it was a TIA, and there is, a 30% risk of something like that happening again. And I think one of the second biggest impacts for me, besides realizing how powerful this technology really is and how fast it can help your body recover, getting your cell voltage up, getting the oxygen in, and actually specifically treating the problem, was that gift of health and the gift of life. I've had a whole new deep gratitude every time I get up in the morning and watch the sunrise and do my meditation. Just an overwhelming gratitude that I am this much better right now, and gratitude that this particular piece of technology found its way into the world. And I hope that you all utilize it to its fullest potential, because it can really save you. It can really save other people. And that's all we've got. This is my life's work, and it was always because I was seeking for why it was we weren't healing, that led me to studying all this frequency medicine and putting it into one particular device. And my whole idea was to create a new path to wellness. I didn't know it was going to create a new path to wellness for me, at least twice in my life. But I wanted to share that with you. And I think that sharing it from my home was a little bit more personal, get a little peek into the vulnerability of my own physical health when we think we're invincible and we're doing all the right things and nothing can touch us. Sometimes things sneak up that can really rock your world. So back to Einstein's statement, the future of medicine is frequency medicine. And I really believe that to be true. I did take aspirin, baby aspirin. So that is the one thing I did to help with the clotting process. But everything else, 100% of everything else, was this frequency technology. And I am truly, truly grateful for it. So on people that wanted protocols on the long haul COVID, definitely running those coronavirus SARS frequencies, very important. DNA repair, to start repairing the mitochondria so your ATP comes back up. Chronic fatigue, if you have chronic fatigue, there's frequencies for that. Inflammation, I would absolutely keep running inflammation because it's affecting all the systems in your body. And then target whatever is your most acute symptoms. So if you're having kidney issues, even diabetes, that kind of thing, if those kind of things, if your blood sugar is really unstable, target those kind of things, and it will help wrap all that up. But continuing on with those coronavirus frequencies, I think it's important to get completely wiped out of the system. So it's not just a in remission or immune system soldiers, holding it off. Try to completely get it out of your system. So that's something you consistently do. It's not do it once and it's gone. It is, if you've had long haul COVID, I would stick with that protocol for a couple of months to make sure you're completely on top of it. There you go. Your health is your wealth. You can scan the QR code if you need any more information. I do want to show you something really quickly. This is another blessing here. This is where I go every morning. And thank God for my life. A beautiful river. And the sun comes up right over there. And I'm filled with gratitude that we were able to bring this product together and bring it to you and bring it to me. All right, we can go back to any questions anyone might have. You jump back over here. Anybody can unmute yourself if you have any questions. Comments?
Hi, Carolyn. Gosh.
Hello.
I'm still like kind of out of a little bit of breath here listening what you went through. My gosh, that's just incredible. So many blessings, right?
Yes. Yes.
I happen to have, it's interesting you say long COVID. So I have a lovely person that I work with at the shop that through the vaccine, she lost sight in her left eye.
Oh, wow.
she stayed faithfully on the VibraGenix until a couple months ago. And now, interestingly, she's just told me she has diabetes. In particular, let me see what they're calling it. They are calling it diabetic insipidus. So are you familiar with that?
So that's another inflammatory process causing diabetes. So definitely the inflammation, definitely the diabetes. With the eyesight, I would have run blindness.
Yes.
And visual acuity and the coronavirus frequencies.
Yeah, I've been running that, but this is more recently. So her more recent one is that. And then she also she was in the hospital with walking pneumonia meningitis.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Talk about getting slammed, right?
Yeah, one thing after another. And that's kind of what I'm finding with a lot of people, actually. They're having a hard time emotionally dealing with post-COVID things. And a lot of that is the cognitive dysfunction. It's very hard for people to think and remember, and the brain fog and all that goes along with it. It's very emotionally devastating for people. So treating the emotional body at the same time is really important. But I can't wait till this whole wave is past us, but there's still that long haul rollout effect that I'm finding more and more research on that I just didn't anticipate right out the gate.
Mm-hmm. You know, she's a workaholic. I mean, she's a single mom and she just works herself to death. And because we personally feel, because she stepped away from the VibraGenix for about the last 2 months, she was doing great. And we kind of think that had so much to do it because she loved it. She always did the ancient tones, chakras. So we're going to try to get her back in. So
yeah, I hope so. Yeah, stress can be a tough thing. It's for my kid's whole life. So I understand the working single mother thing.
Yeah.
And stress could be probably maybe another contributing factor, although I wasn't stressed at all on Friday when I went to work a week ago. But definitely stress doesn't help anything.
Mm-hmm.
Emotional stress actually acidifies the body too, which kind of sets us up for a whole other set of problems.
Right.
But it's back to the basics too. It's like staying on the technology, get your cell voltage up, which gets your body to start to heal itself. So, but
you also mentioned, I'm so sorry, the oxygen exciters. Is that something separate that you have?
So no, I said the cell exciters to put on the body, which you have with your machine.
Yep.
And then oxygen concentrators. So we have oxygen concentrators. I love to use it with the technology because it binds the nitrogen in the air. So the air is 80% nitrogen. It binds the nitrogen, concentrates the oxygen to 95 to 98%, and you breathe that in. So it is the perfect time when you're on the machine and you're exciting 100 trillion cells in your body. It is the perfect time to breathe in oxygen. And it doesn't require any oxygen tanks. It's really easy to use. We don't make them.
Do you have it nearby you or not? Is it at your different location? Like what does it look like?
So it's a Respironics. We could run downstairs. You want to hear it? Yeah. Well, you want a full tour of the home?
That's okay. I mean, other people might have other questions, so whatever works.
Yeah, and I can also take pictures. We actually have them on the website. If you go to the website,
okay, perfect.
We have 5 liter per minute and 10 liter per minute. The 10 liter per minute we actually got for the pods, so that we could pump more oxygen into the pods. See, my original idea with the pod was Rife's most powerful work was done in what he called a Rife box that he built. And he got deeper penetration of the frequencies into the body because they bounced off the walls and into the body. It also isolates the sound from the facility. So my idea was, this would be great. I can take oxygen, pump it in there, and CO2 is lighter, so it'll go up. So I put in a whisper fan and fill the chamber up with oxygen, even though it's not under pressure, and you'd be in an oxygen saturated environment. And then what we found is when you open the door, oxygen level drops. You wait another, half an hour for it to get back up. So we just made a port and ported the oxygen concentrator into the pod. You have a pod, right?
I have a pod, Dr. Carolyn. Yeah. So when you're saying this, I'm like so excited.
Yeah. So you should have a port already built in there, and you just hook the oxygen concentrator up on the outside. You want it outside the pod because it's finding all that nitrogen and pulling in oxygen. I also try to keep a plant nearby, because it's generating more oxygen and use CO2. And then you get oxygen cannulas. You can get them off Amazon. and you just
Okay.
hook them on the port, and people breathe that when they're on the machine. And I think it really amplifies the effect.
Oh, I'm so going to do that.
Yes,
Of
for
course.
sure.
For sure. That's great. I love it.
Okay, perfect.
Thanks so much. See you in a few
You're
days.
welcome. Yes. Anyone else?
Caroline, I can't find the little raise my hand, so if I can just speak.
Yes.
I just, first of all, I want to say, oh my God, I'm so glad you're okay. But since you so openly shared with us, would you tell us what were you feeling like the day before, the morning of?
Yeah.
And because I know that you're very much into prevention,
Yes.
and how have you analyzed, knowing your body so well, what are you going to be doing differently in the future?
Right. So what I did notice that morning when I was getting ready, I was actually going to leave work and go see my best friend, which she's getting ready to move to another state, and I really wanted to go to Hood River and see her. So I was really happy about how the day was going to go to work for a while. So it wasn't emotionally in a bad place, but I did notice when I was trying to get ready, I couldn't remember the order that I was getting ready, you know, like the little stuff. Did I put on deodorant? What did I pack? You know, I packed a bag with like 4 things in it instead of enough things for a night and a day. And I just wasn't tracking. And then my daughter lives at home. She's going to college here. And I went to say goodbye to her. And I was extraordinarily emotional for only going to be gone for a day. I had a very hard time saying goodbye to her. And then I called my son when I was on my way to work. And I asked him if I sounded right. And maybe he's very intuitive. See if he gives any intuitive hits on what's going on. I said, something's really off. So I knew something was, but the last thing I considered was any kind of TIA. And I just think I still have clots from I almost died from coronavirus. I had the Delta, and I think I still have clots from there that are breaking off. So I'm aggressively addressing that at this point, but I would have thought I was the last person on earth to have a TIA.
Well, the experiences that we have personally in order to help the masses is just something that healers have to accept, right?
Yeah,
So,
and make themselves vulnerable enough to share.
Exactly. I commend you for that. I mean, the technology, I'm convinced every single person needs to know about it. And so, it's unfortunate, but some good can come of it. We can find the seed of good, right?
Oh, for sure. And watching my recovery, I've been really attuned. I haven't taken anything but a baby aspirin, and I did, I think, 1 every 3 hours that first day, and then 3 the next day, and then just 1 since then. But I've been acutely aware of how I'm feeling, how my brain is feeling, my energy level, all of that, and what my thought processes are. And I'm sure you noticed in this presentation, I was really looking for words here and there, and that's one of the residual things I see. But as far as firing on all cylinders, that kind of started kicking in about day 8. So that's super important for my work.
Yeah.
So what else differently is definitely mitigate stress. I'm going to definitely go through with all these scans. The medical scans one might take me 2 months to get them all done, just to get kind of a ballpark, but still using the frequencies, really backing this up and recognizing what the source of the issue is.
Right. Keep a journal. It'll all be interesting when you're 100% and tell the story.
There you go. I think I'm 90.
Look great.
I actually went out and water skied Saturday, and I took 3 sets. So yeah, I tried on 2 days afterwards, and I could not. I took like 6 turns, and I was so out of breath I couldn't. But I don't know, 3 sets in a day is pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Well, this is going to be the shortest frequency chat in history with the most emotion packed into it. But I felt like it was important, and that's part of the reason I wanted to do it from home, because I thought it might make me cry. Well, thank you, everybody.